Well, hi there. This is Maria Rothenberger, and you're listening to the Miracles Happen Fertility Podcast. This is episode 132, a reprise of the episode I did a long time ago when I was a baby podcast, episode 19 called Gratituding. I wanted to reprise this episode for various reasons. One, this is being published in November of 2021, and I wanted to highlight that this is a month of gratitude. In the U.S., we are celebrating Thanksgiving. And also, my son was born this month, my first son, who came to us via a series of absolute miracles that I write about in Transcending Infertility. And his birthday is actually right around Thanksgiving too, which is interesting. So grateful for that. And we are winding down, hopefully crossing fingers, COVID-19 and feeling so much gratitude for that. And per my last podcast episode, number 131, my parents are dealing with some health challenges. And when I published that podcast episode, a flood of messages came in from you. And so I wanted to pause and send you just a ton of gratitude. I know what it's like moving through a really busy life and then to pause and send a message to somebody that you're thinking about and that you wish well. And for those who didn't send a message but sent your thoughts anyway, I feel them. And thank you. Thanks so much. And my parents, thank you too. Shoot, we all thank you because we're all rooting for them. So, wanting to send some gratitude to you and for being a part of this podcast as a listener, for sending me your notes, for just thinking about us. I can't quantify my level of gratitude for you. So just as I talk about in this episode, gratitude is not mutually exclusive from the shit hitting the fan, right? From terrible things happening. I often talk about two seemingly opposing emotions or experiences happening at the same time. It is entirely possible. So while my parents are dealing with their health challenges and we are dealing with, time management and all that kind of stuff here on this end, we are also very clearly grateful for all that we have. And we point out more and more every day what we're grateful for. And it really is from little tiny things to really big things. So I encourage this practice for you too, even if you are going through hell, because it is, it makes things a little bit lighter. It makes things a little bit more tolerable. And if we can just take the edge off of the pain, right, then we can continue moving forward. As I say a lot, even before it became a big thing, we can do freaking hard things. We can. You've proven it. And so you can do this too. All right. Enjoy this reprise of gratituding.
Welcome to the Miracles Happen Fertility Podcast, where it's all about using the power of your mind to create hope, health, and miracles on your fertility journey. And now your host, a dash of science and a heap of spirit, Dr. Maria Rothenberger.
What's up, everyone? This is Dr. Maria Rothenberger, your host for the Miracles Happen Fertility Podcast. Today's episode is all about gratituding. And I do mean that in terms of actionable gratituding, ing. I once heard this, I talk about gratitude often in my coaching and therapy practices. And I once heard a client use the word gratituding, and then I heard it by Oprah somewhere, and I'm like, oh, this is a thing. I wonder why I haven't done an episode on that. So here we are today, gratituding. And I do mean that in a very actionable way. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how to put into practice this idea of gratitude. But before we do, just a quick check-in with you guys. It is, as of this recording, February 2018. It is flurrying outside here in the Northwest, Oregon, USA, and it's strange. It's strange to see the flurries again. If you've listened to this episode before, to this podcast before, you've heard that I moved a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, from New Jersey, USA, to Oregon. And New Jersey, every winter we had a ton of snow, and maybe not a ton, but there was snow on the ground and it would stick around. When we came to Oregon, we were told, man, it snows every once in 10 years or something. Well, last year we had a few inches of snow, and I remember being told that I should probably head home from wherever I was. And I said, why? And they said, well, they're probably going to shut down the bridge, which was my way home. And I'm like thinking, what? 3 inches of snow and they're shutting down the bridge? That's hysterical. That would never happen in New Jersey. But sure enough, some people got stuck on the bridge and they had to shut it down. So I was luckily able to get home before that. But people were stuck on the roads for like 7-8 hours. Some people spending the night in their cars because they couldn't get home because of a few inches of snow. I mean, it did end up being pretty bad up in Portland, but yeah, crazy. So I'm looking out the window in this beautiful winter scene of our new home and seeing the gorgeous landscape and the wind blowing through the trees. And it's a lovely, mindful moment as I watch these flurries going by. So just setting that scene for you here in winter. It's a gorgeous thing. And speaking of gratituding, saying thank you to Mother Nature for such a lovely scene. And that is one way in which you can practice gratitude. Let's talk about the rest. So I'd like to start with, as usual, a little definition. What exactly is gratitude? And there are a lot of different definitions out there, but of course I was Dr. Googling, another ing word made up, and I found this one that I really think speaks to what I am trying to convey to you all today. So this is from a study, Emmons and Stern from 2013, and it goes like this. Gratitude has a dual meaning, a worldly one and a transcendent one. In its worldly sense, gratitude is a feeling that occurs in interpersonal exchanges when one person acknowledges receiving a valuable benefit from another. Gratitude is a cognitive affective state that is typically associated with the perception that one has received a personal benefit that was not intentionally sought after, deserved, or earned, but rather because of the good intentions of another person. So that transcendent one, the transcendent part is what I am attempting to convey today. So let me say that part again. Gratitude is a cognitive affective state that is typically associated with the perception that one has received a personal benefit that was not intentionally sought after, deserved, or earned. And they go on to say that it's rather from the good intentions of another person. And I'm actually speaking about gifts received not just from people, but from the environment, states of being, even gifts from tragedy, infertility, or other tragedies. I've talked before in this podcast about post-traumatic growth, and I think that that's where I'm going with this. It's sort of aligned with that concept of being able to see the gifts from something terrible, really. So I really like this definition. I think that when I think about post-traumatic growth and my own experience and others that I've read, the gifts received were not sought after. They weren't necessarily deserved, and they weren't earned. They were totally random and not intentional. It's just, oh my God, I got this benefit from this thing. I got this benefit from, it doesn't even have to be a tragedy. Of course, it could be anything. I got this cool thing. This is amazing. And I feel like it's a lot deeper than a, hey, thanks. That was kind of awesome. It's an appreciation, a deep appreciation and a reverence for that gift. So that's what I'm really talking about today. It's definitely deeper than surface level. It's deeper than sending a thank you note for a wedding gift or sending a thank you note for anything, right? It's a real deep appreciation and acknowledgement and reverence for something that you received. So that's really what I'm going for today. Okay. Now, why practice gratitude? Why do gratituding? Well, so the benefits of gratituding are astounding. And I'm actually going to, on the show notes, put a website up with a ton of research around the benefits of gratitude. It's crazy. So this particular article references a whole host of research around how one's emotional state can be improved, social state can be improved, career, health, personality. Oh my gosh, it's insane how gratituding can be helpful. So, for example, one's personality, when you are practicing gratitude, you become less materialistic, less self-centered, more optimistic. Of course, my favorite, more spiritual. And you have an increased self-esteem, emotional well-being, more good feelings, feeling more relaxed, more resilient. And who doesn't need that in the face of infertility? Less envious. Who doesn't need that in the face of infertility? And happier memories. Oh my God, how amazing is that? Social. You're more social. You have a healthier marriage. You're kinder, deeper relationships, more friendships. And I'd like to think in the infertility world that you have more friendships that are more your tribe, people that really get you and whom you get. In your career, goal achievement, improved networking, increased productivity, improved decision making. For your health, improved sleep, being less sick, more longevity, more efficient exercise, increased energy. And of course, when you improve your health, fertility follows in line with that. You're out of fight or flight, you're more relaxed. It's just an all-around, much better way of being. Who knew that this practice of gratitude could be so powerful? It's incredibly powerful. And that is why I am highlighting it for you today. I really hope that you take what I say today, pull the things that are meaningful for you, leave the rest, and just really, really go for it. Really practice this state of gratitude. Now, what I'm talking about today is gratituding. So that's the practice of gratitude. That's the practical thing or things that you can do in your everyday life, everyday moments to practice this awareness. And what happens, this is what I found in my own life, but also I've found with clients and other people just in my life, that the more and more that you practice this state of gratitude, the more and more you are gratitude, the more and more that that's just part of who you are. So that when you are looking at a particular situation in your life, you're more likely to pick up on the possible potential benefit of a particular situation rather than the ways in which it can go wrong. And hello, who doesn't need that again from infertility? Like, okay, here's all the shit that can happen. Again, speaking of quantum physics, that is a quantum physical reality. Just YouTube quantum physics and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's talk about the ways in which you can practice gratitude. One of the things that personally comes to mind when I think of practicing gratitude is a song in an old movie with Bing Crosby, White Christmas. It's called counting blessings. Now, I don't happen to be a religious person. I'm highly spiritual, obviously, but when I think of the word blessings, I just substitute with gratitude, the things that I'm grateful for. The song, the lyrics go something like, when I'm worried and can't sleep, I count my blessings instead of sheep. And then I fall asleep counting my blessings. And practicing gratitude is just that, counting all the ways in which you are grateful for anything. So here are the practical ways, practical suggestions that I have, and there are 100,000 more. So again, do some research and pick the things that speak to you. So the very first thing to do, I believe, prior to even beginning a practice of any sort, is to get really intentional about it. And that means, I call it paying intention. First, paying intention. Pay attention to what you are going to do. So that means really looking at, what is it that I want to get out of this? How can this potentially improve my life and the lives of others around me? So really, really get intentional. And what does that mean for you? What do you need to do in order to form an intention for gratituding? Do you need to do more research? Do you need to connect with somebody else who is also looking at practicing gratitude? I love having an accountability partner. It's why I love doing coaching, because I get to be somebody's accountability partner. I'm not like the guru or boss or anything like that, or like, I am the doctor, you are the patient. It's not like that. It is, I am an accountability partner. Check in with me. I will check in with you. If you have someone who's also wanting to do and introduce this new thing into their life, just like you are, then contract with them. Say, hey, I'll check in with you this every so often, 4 times a week, once a day, twice a month. It doesn't really even matter how often you check in with that person. Just set those intervals. Have an accountability partner. So that helps form your intention. As you are paying intention, you are connecting with somebody else who is also paying intention. So that's the very first thing that you do. Okay. Next, here are just a few things that you can do to practice gratitude. My very favorite, a gratitude journal. And I personally like having a really small journal that I can carry with me. It could be just a little notebook. It doesn't have to be a specific, gratitude journal or thank you journal, whatever. It doesn't have to be that. It could just be a little notebook. I like to carry a notebook around with me in my bag. I actually have a bullet journal, and I think I've talked about a bullet journal before. And there's a page in there all about the things that I'm grateful for. And sometimes I'll look back at that and be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that moment. I forgot about that thing. And I get all the chemical benefits from seeing that gratitude again, that piece of thank you in my world again. So I recommend having a gratitude journal. Now, you can get really strategic about this. You can wake up every morning, do your gratitude, your 3 things that you're grateful for, your 5 things that you're grateful for, 1 thing that you're grateful for, or you can do it at night. 1, 3, 5, 10 things that you're grateful for. You can do it at morning and night. Whatever it is that you want to do with that journal is great. I do recommend having some kind of structure around it. Otherwise, if you're like me, it'll never happen. You're like, yeah, someday I'll do that. And then suddenly 6 months have gone by. Yeah, that's kind of like my life. So I do recommend getting intentional about that, setting some kind of increments, some kind of structure around it, and maybe setting up some kind of reminder around it. So there are times that I've recommended to people, if you have something on you like an Apple Watch or an iPhone or some kind of smartphone, anything that has a way to remind you during your day, a little ping reminder, ping, that is a really cool way to sort of reset in that moment and say, okay, what am I grateful for right now? What am I grateful for right now in this moment? One thing. And so I do recommend doing that maybe 3 times a day or so, like morning, middle of the day, and evening. Just a little reminder like, oh, resetting. Okay, What am I grateful for in this moment? It's kind of cool because then you have a little varied way of looking at your life. You're doing these mundane things every day. You're getting up, you're working out, you're taking a shower, you're getting ready for work, whatever it is that you're doing. And at the end of the day, cooking, whatever it is, you stop in the middle of that. It's a little pause as your reminder goes off and you say, oh, what am I grateful for in this moment? And there's one of the things that I was going to read you. There's an article, another article that I'll put on the show notes called 40 Simple Ways to Practice Gratitude. And one of the ways on here is to cook more. And I'm like, no, it says cook meals with love. And I'm like, oh man, that's one of my deficits. I cook to eat. I do not cook for love. Unfortunately, it's not one of my strengths. That's my mom's job. But yeah, when you actually pause and say, okay, I'm going to appreciate this moment right now, this moment. This onion is creating tears in my eyes. I'm grateful that I'm able to stand here and dice this onion and have the tears in my eyes, that I'm alive. I'm grateful that I'm alive. It becomes a little bit deeper when you look at even these mundane things. So again, we are talking about little surface things that you can do in your everyday to practice gratituding. Okay. Now, we've talked about setting an intention, having an accountability partner. We've talked about having a gratitude journal. We've talked about pausing throughout your day in some way with a timer or whatever it is to be intentional about gratitude in those moments. Something that I also recommend is writing a letter or a note or a postcard to someone that you're grateful for. Whether or not you send it to them doesn't matter. Believe it or not, the brain doesn't know the difference between gratituding actually in your world with somebody directly, a gratitude exchange, or it's just in your mind. Either way, I highly recommend sending gratitude to somebody that you're grateful for. It could be the smallest thing. Hey, lady helping people cross the street, I appreciate you. Thanks so much. Hey, philanthropist that just donated $100,000 to our organization, I thank you so much for that. It doesn't matter the scale. It does not matter how much money is involved or how much time is involved. All that matters is that you are grateful for that person. And if you want to send a note to them, that is fantastic. You still reap the benefit if you do not send them a note. So for example, someone who's maybe passed away, you can still send them your thoughts, whether you put it on paper or it's just in your mind. I've actually worked with clients in the past who've grieved losses like this, and I've talked about writing a letter to them and actually putting it in the mailbox. Little kids I've done this with, and there is just such reward for feeling as if you are communicating to that person. So I totally recommend doing that, whether or not they are accessible to you. I recommend writing a note to somebody saying your gratitude. Something else of note, you need not know the person in order to send them gratitude. It could be an author, it could be whatever, a famous person, a speaker, somebody that you heard of, as long as there is that intention of gratitude, send it to them. Send it to them, or just send it through the ether in your mind. You don't need to have anything physical, but you still reap the rewards of practicing that gratitude. And while we're on this topic, I just want to send a giant thank you and acknowledgement to those who have sent their gratitude to me. It is just so fulfilling to know that this podcast and my writings and my blog posts and Instagram posts and all that stuff are super helpful for people, or at least even minorly helpful. So I appreciate your feedback so much. And if you haven't done so already, I would really love if you offered some feedback on iTunes or Stitcher, or wherever you're listening to this podcast. You can also visit drmariarothenberger.com and leave your feedback on your particular episode, whatever episode you're listening to, or on a blog post, or just send me a note. I really appreciate them. And thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Okay. All right. Let's get real for a second and talk about gratituding within infertility. So this is a really difficult concept because there is no way that most people in their right minds would say, what the frig are you talking about, Maria? I'm supposed to be grateful for all of this pain, this agony, this torture of infertility? That is crazy. I'm turning this podcast off right now. And I don't blame you. I do not blame you. So what I want to really highlight for you today is that gratituding does not negate the crap. Gratituding does not mean that you completely ignore all the pain in your life due to infertility, or all of the pain in your life due to anything. It's horrible and difficult and sometimes really scary. And I do not mean to imply that you need to ignore all of the crap of infertility. That would actually be, I don't know, less fuel for gratitude, for lack of a better phrase. I feel that the darkness makes the light seem brighter. And so I almost feel like, weirdly, anything that comes into your life that's difficult, and especially within the context of this podcast, infertility, I feel like it makes those moments of gratitude that much stronger. So, for example, after having experienced infertility, I never take for granted those people in my life who stuck with me, even as shitty as I was during those times. I was not a very happy, bright, optimistic, bubbly person in that dark space. And so I am really grateful for those people that just loved me anyway. They just kept loving me anyway. And that is one of those maybe deeper things that I'm talking about. You know, I'm certainly grateful for coffee. I'm certainly grateful for the fact that I can, breathe in the morning and sit up, and that I can walk, and that I can write, and that I can speak to you right now. And I'm grateful for the house that I live in and the car and all those materialistic things. But I think that it's the relationships and the closeness that I feel most grateful for. So those are the things that I really want to highlight within the context of infertility. It does not negate the darkness at all. I think that it just makes the light seem brighter. So be more grateful for your coffee. If you are drinking coffee, be more grateful for your green tea or your herbal teas or whatever it is that you are doing to take care of yourself during infertility. Be grateful for those little things that you get to do because you're living your life. With that, let's start with a little short gratituding meditation. We'll end with a little short gratituding meditation. So wherever you are, if you can just pause for these next 2 minutes. And if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Slow down your breathing by breathing into the count of 4. Hold for the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. And exhale to the count of 8. And now just breathe regularly. If you are not closing your eyes, just relax your gaze about 4 to 6 feet in front of you. And I want you to think about where you are right now. Where are you? Are you in a car? Are you in a room? Are you outside? Pay attention to your physical surroundings. Maybe pick a sense. What do you hear? What do you see? What do you feel? And pick one of those things that you are noticing and really get intentional about your gratitude toward that thing. Maybe you're sitting in a really comfortable chair. Maybe you hear nature or some beautiful music. Maybe you're just grateful for the room you're in, provides shelter, or it's spacious, or it's cozy, or the colors are beautiful. It could be as simple as a piece of furniture, or as profound as safety, or being alive. Sit with that gratitude for the next few moments. And when you're ready, wiggle your fingers and toes, and open your eyes if they were closed. And become aware of where you are. Maybe give a little stretch. And say thank you to whomever you want to say thank you to today. I am going to say thank you to you for listening, and I really wish you all of the best and a knowingness that miracles are on their way to you. And gratituding is only one of the ways in which you can move closer to your dream of having your baby in your arms, having infertility over, being on the quote other side. Know that it's on its way to you. And I am here for support. Many people are around you for support. You are not alone. Email me anytime you'd like at info@drmariarothenberger.com. Again, you can find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram primarily, although I am on Twitter at times. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to leave a message on the podcast website, drmariarothenberger.com. and or iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you're listening to this. I appreciate you and totally gratituding that I get to do this for you. May you be well, and I'll see you next time.